Hi, I'm Sarah Floor, and welcome to yet another video. Honkai Star Rail's Fate Collab is finally here. After a year since its announcement to today, we've all had pretty high expectations on how it would turn out. So how did it turn out? Well, I'm sorry to say, but it's aggressively mid. Let's get into it. The story is that old OT uses the Holy Grail to create a Grail War on Penacony, supposedly summoning servants from Penacony's own history. While he does succeed somewhat in that regard, for some reason, Saber, Archer, and Lancer from Fate Stay Night are summoned as well. We participate in this Grail War, fight against the Penacony servants who make up Assassin, Caster, and finally OT himself, who is Berserker. He summoned himself, as he's lived long enough for people to have their own thoughts and ideas on what he's like. That's the story at a high level. There's of course more details like Assassin and Caster using their noble phantasms against the group, but both instances are the most boring and dull moments in the story quest. They take up most of the story, and therefore they drag the story down and make it that much worse. We barely get to spend any meaningful amount of time with our collab characters, Saber and Archer, and more time was spent on NPC servants for some god-awful reason. Why, in a collab, you don't get to spend time with the character you're collabing with? Eating burgers with Saber and Archer's jabs at Aventuring's choice of attire is not spending meaningful time with them. There's one moment where you view a bit of Saber's memories from the moment she pulls the sword from the stone, but that part doesn't last long at all, and you immediately jump to a part of the story where you're living out your days as an employee in the Herta space station. It's a little clever, because this is based off of the premature ending you can choose at the beginning of the game way back when, but this segment gets old very, very fast. The collab story was disappointing. As a Fate fan from way back in 2008, I've read the visual novel, watched Fate Zero, Apocrypha, played Hollow Ataraxia 2, and so on. I played FGO up to Lost Belt 6, and I'm greatly disappointed. They spent an entire year on this? Nasu supervised this garbage? He watched these boring, dull cutscenes, limited animation, and gave his thumbs up? I refuse to believe that one of my favorite writers of all time would approve this trash. There's no way. I expected this to be an HSR version of Unlimited Blade Works, the route in anime that inspired this collaboration, where we'd be challenged by Archer on our ideals and work with Saber to win the Grail War. Not this mini episode of Penaconian history that the majority of people playing the collab don't care about. Overall, if you haven't played the collab yet, just skip the cutscenes and move on to the event gameplay. This is the worst piece of Fate anything released in a while.